D.C. press corps, really the Western press corps, still trying to get Israel to pull back and not continue their efforts to dismantle Iran's terrorist network. Pierre Poilievre, he is the Canadian MP conservative who may very well be the next PM to replace that grade school drama teacher the Canadians thought would be a good PM. That was a mistake. He was asked about it, and here's Poilievre. Boy, I tell you, if we need to, I mean, Trump's pretty good on this, but it'd be nice to have backbenchers in this country that speak with the moral clarity of a Milei or a Netanyahu or a Poilievre.
Yesterday you said that you endorse Israel proactively defending itself by hitting Iran's nuclear sites, which is something that President Joe Biden does not endorse. Do you not feel like this could lead to a likelihood of an all-out conventional war between Iran and Israel? And do you not agree with Joe Biden and his assessment?
I think the idea of allowing a genocidal, theocratic, unstable dictatorship that is desperate to avoid being overthrown by its own people to develop nuclear weapons is about the most dangerous and irresponsible thing that the world could ever allow. And if Israel were to stop that genocidal, theocratic, unstable government from acquiring nuclear weapons, it would be a gift by the Jewish state to humanity.
Oh, and that was, of course, received by said press corps as Poilievre letting loose the dogs of war and being reckless, precipitating or a call that could precipitate nuclear conflict and so forth. But isn't he fundamentally right about that? For more on that statement and my question and others, please be joined by Stephen Bucci for our weekly conversation. He served America, did Stephen Bucci, for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow in the Hertiage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, what's your reaction to Mr. Poilievre?
I will tell you, I know I couldn't say it as well as he did. He's very articulate, spot on. Factually, I agree with him 110%. That is the correct analysis, the analysis that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been pushing, after she read the maps and all this other stuff. Don't go into Rafah. I'm sorry, they've been wrong at every turn. Mr. Poilievre is spot on. I think the Canadian people would be well served if he gets into office. And the West would be well served having him as one of the heads of state sitting there at the table. So, yeah, he's got it down.
And just again, there seems to need to be a bit of a refresher on who Israel is dealing with, like on a daily basis, with these pro-Hamas useful idiots and frankly, some anti-American intellectuals. The response to the killing of the Hamas leader, Sinwar, from Hind Kodri, who is a Nobel Prize nominee for, as were a group of Palestinian journalists for their reporting on the war in Gaza. The response to his death by this intrepid journalist, Nobel Prize nominee, "Your sun will never set." That's what she said about Sinwar, the terrorist leader of Hamas, the architect of the October 7th terrorist attack where 1,200 Israelis were murdered. That's what they think.
Yeah, well, it's emblematic of the thought of a lot of people, of members of our own Congress, and Lord knows apparently members in the executive branch here and there. Look, Sinwar was a thug, a complete horrific thug. I love the pictures of him that he was, in jail and the Israelis tortured him. He was a convicted criminal for gouging out the eyes of other Palestinians, not Jews, though he clearly orchestrated the killing of lots and lots of Jews. But he was in jail for torturing to death other Palestinians who, for the horrific crime of not towing the line with Hamas and Sinwar himself. The Israelis gave him brain surgery to take a tumor out of his head and saved his life. And then he comes back and he orchestrates this horrific event on October 7th. He died. I love the reports that he died in a manly way defending Gaza. What a bunch of crap. He was hiding like a little girl afraid of the dark with hostages around him. And then when that didn't work, he tried to sneak out, crawling through the rubble. He did not stand up to a real threat at all. He loved sending other people to do it, including women and children. He did not. He was a coward, a thug, and a terrorist. There is nothing redeemable about that man whatsoever.
Oh, Stephen, he threw a stick at a drone. That's manly, huh?
Well, in addition to that, I mean, for all the discussion about the poverty in Gaza and people not having the essentials to survive, we see his wife spotted fleeing into a Gaza tunnel with a $32,000 Birkin handbag.
Oh my God.
So, life is good when you're the terrorist leader of Hamas. This is probably U.S. taxpayer dollars that bought her that handbag.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
So this morning we're learning that there's a new investigation being opened into the Pentagon for leaking details of Israel's retaliatory strike against Iran. Who's the snitch? And would we ever find out?
We need to find out. Just from a moral standpoint, from a national interest standpoint, we need to find out. I am not overly optimistic that will happen. These are the same guys who couldn't figure out who brought the cocaine into the White House, and all these other things that supposedly are easy shots because they're all busy chasing down people praying on the streets outside of abortion clinics and things like that. Other, terroristic actions like that, for goodness sake.
They should get they should get the guy who discovered the leaker of the Dobbs decision to.
They can get them all together.
To on this job, right? Oh,
but
wait.
Two files were published by pro-Iran Telegram, account saying what the plan was, and that's just. I shouldn't be surprised by anything in this administration, but that's very fraudulent.
Yeah, it completely destroys the credibility of the United States of America to share within the Five Eyes system with our allies, with the Israelis. Why in the world could the United States in any way, shape, or form request or demand of Israel to share their plans with us? If it turns out it gets leaked. This is the end, at least for the short term, of Israel sharing any particular plans with the United States. And I tell you what, if Joe Biden gets up and says, moral indignation because they didn't get the information ahead of time, I'm sorry. Shame on you, Joe, and the Secretary of Defense, these other guys who have said things like that. Because we can't protect the information when we get it. Even if it was a hack, we still don't know exactly how the people got these things. But if it was a hack, it was the hack of the NSA information and from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, two of the most highly classified and managed and protected sources of information that we have in our entire system. That's what was compromised. So it's not just that Israel was screwed by this. We have the people who did this are screwing the United States of America. They need to be hunted down and thrown in prison for the rest of their lives. And there is no moral defense for what they did.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's somebody in the quote-unquote intel community. I mean, let's not forget, going back to the Obama years, people forgot. I mean, this has always been Joe Obama's 3 terms. This is a administration over the span of the last decade and a half with the Trump interregnum that is hostile to Israel. Obama was always hostile to Israel. Obama's ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, is, a quote unquote anti-Zionist. She's awful. Always was. She was as an academic. It was known. Of course, she gets confirmed anyway, and she's in this post. But that the whole power structure of these three terms for Obama and Biden has a hostile posture towards Israel. I mean, unfortunately, even Lester Crown in Chicago didn't see it with Obama, but it's there. It was obvious. And all you have to do is look at the individual players. I'm using Samantha Power as just one example. And their own musings when they were in academia or working their way up the State Department, and then the decisions that have been made by both the Obama administration and the Biden administration. And, of course, they're one and the same.
Yeah, you're spot on again. These two administrations, these three terms, as you mentioned, are completely incestuous. They've got all the same people in them, other than the guy who was sitting at the top seat. The players are all the same at the middle and upper middle levels. The people that are really doing the day-to-day stuff. They've made no mystery at all about their hostility towards Israel, and particularly towards Benjamin Netanyahu, and their love and apparent delusional fantasy that somehow Iran is really the key friendly player for the United States in the Middle East. That is, no one with any sort of brain cells still functioning thinks Iran is a useful partner in the Middle East, except for these players in the present American administration who are all holdovers from the Obama administration. It's not going to happen, folks. They admit, the Iranians admit it's not going to happen, but somehow these friendly idiots, as you put it very succinctly, are still hooked on that and think somehow, hoping against hope, that they're going to be our buddies. And they're not. They're our enemies. And they're clearly the enemies of Israel.
Well, last week we got the much anticipated report on the Secret Service. I say that with tongue firmly planted in cheek. The 52-page report detailed some problems in Secret Service, pattern of undertraining, attitude of doing more with less, which is inconsistent with its no-fail mission, over-reliance on assigning personnel based on categories like former candidate or candidate instead of individual risk assessments, and a lack of auditing and continuous improvement mechanics. It says an influx of funds would help, but without more, it will not address the problems, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you were wowed by this DHS panel's report, and you are looking forward to system change at Secret Service.
Look, I worked in Washington for a lot of years, a lot of times in conjunction with the Secret Service. Now, I have to tell you, the Secret Service was always a pain in the backside to work with because they were so rigid with their procedures, with their rules, and they were good rules. They were just so rigid about them, they were a little absurd. But now to hear this report, and I'm accepting that the report's accurate, by the way, that these guys who used to be the 800-pound gorillas, who everything else had to move aside once they made a decision based on protecting the president and the vice president and the other folks they protect, that this was the way we were going to do it. Now they're a laughing stock in the law enforcement community. They have people that are untrained, people that are undertrained, inability to do risk assessments and then act on them. It's use the old cliche, oh, how the mighty have fallen. These guys used to be the A team. Now they're like a sandlot team. It's really unfortunate, and I feel badly for the individual agents because I know there's still good people working in the service, but as an organization, their leadership has failed them and allowed them, in some cases for some woke ideas, to just stop doing their job. It's really sad.
DHS generally, Secret Service specifically, FBI, CIA, IRS, EPA, pick an agency, any agency. You worked at the Pentagon for a long time. If you took me on a tour of the Pentagon and pointed out the different departments and here's what they do, and spend a day embedded with them, or maybe instead of me, somebody that actually matters, like Elon Musk, and he's the head of a cutting waste commission in the federal government or something in a Trump term. How shocked would somebody who is just sort of commonsensical, even if they have no expertise in intelligence or any particular understanding of geopolitical dynamics, how shocked would people be about the level of competence or lack thereof?
I hate to throw mud when I'm not on the inside looking at it. I am guessing that the competence is still there. The people who know what to do are present, but clearly they are not the ones making the decisions. They're not the ones driving the policy. They are not being allowed to do their job the way they know they should do them. That is I think, what's going on. They'd have to have thrown out a lot of people to get it down to where everybody's incompetent. But if the leaders don't allow the people to do their jobs correctly, it isn't going to happen. You look at the border. The Customs and Border Protection folks, the Border Patrol, they know how to protect the border. They know how to do their job. You have to give them the right assets to do it, and then you have to give them the authority under the leadership to execute the mission the way they know to do it. That is clearly not happening today, and I think that same analysis probably applies all the way across the federal government because, while they touted themselves as, okay, the adults are back in Washington, that's clearly not what happened. The lunatics in some cases are back in Washington. The incompetence, the delusional, that's who's back in Washington right now, and that's who's been leading for the last 3.5 years. And I got to tell you, we are the worst for the wear. America has not been served well, and our allies have got to be scratching their heads. Heck, our enemies are probably scratching their heads going, man, is this a trick? They're not really this stupid. They've never been this stupid before. If I was a bad guy, I'd be kind of nervous that they were walking into an ambush, except I have to say, I don't think they are. I think we really are that stupid right now.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks as always.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yep, thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560. The Answer.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
Feeling sluggish in the afternoon? Justin feels sluggish in the afternoon, and one of my girlfriends, she feels sluggish in the afternoon. Justin is taking Balance of Nature. My friend is drinking coffee, and then guess what? She can't fall asleep at night. So may I suggest taking Balance of Nature? Why? Well, we're not getting enough fruits and veggies on our own, and that's where Balance of Nature supplements come in. 6 capsules, you're getting 10 servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. You'll love it. Your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. Give it a chance. You've got nothing to lose. And with this, fall season coming up. Remember that the pumpkin pie and ice cream doesn't provide the fruits and veggies